John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now Jay Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Entertainment purposes only.
We got a special guest on his way right now to one of the football playoff games to open things up. Is my favorite columnist from Nashville with the Tennessean. My number one favorite that I read. Several, I never miss him. Gentry Estes with us by phone. Gentry, I know you're driving. I just want to thank you for being with us. I am your loyal follower. You write about the Titans, and so I want to thank you for being with us. Gentry, let's turn it over to our host, Nate. Hey, you're on with Gentry Estes. Go ahead.
Hey, Gentry. This is Nate Perry from Godzilla Wins, the Saturday Pick Show. Thanks for joining us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you just great.
Veteran quarterback who's getting near.
All right. For those of you that are just listening and want to know a little bit about Gentry, he writes for the Tennessean, and he writes a very cathartic column for John and his Tennessee Titans love. He's also worked the SEC beat for various places, Alabama, University of Georgia, currently University of Tennessee as part of his work for the Tennessean. That's why he's headed up to Columbus, Ohio to watch them take on the Ohio State Buckeyes tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us, Gentry. I'm going to turn it over here to John because I know that the Tennessee Titans take up about 45 to 55% of his waking hours and thoughts. And I know John has some burning questions about the future of the maligned franchise that is the Tennessee Titans.
Well, Gentry, go ahead.
I appreciated the kind introduction. You didn't pursue anyone else.
Well, listen, you're the one that gets me through every week because you're the only one that tells the truth. This franchise is a dumpster fire beyond belief. Like, I've been an Amy fan. I love how she, took over the team. She's tough as nails. I like the fact she fired Robinson, got in his office, fired his ass for all the nonsense that went on there with the receivers and everything else. Lousy draft picks. But what's the plan, Gentry? If you're a Titans fan, right now we got no quarterback, as you pointed out. We have no future. We have no plan, and not a word from Amy. What's going on, Gentry?
I think the most frustrating thing is what you're saying. We're not hearing from the owner, and I think now more than ever it would be good to be able to hear what you're saying. What is the plan? Look at this organization. It's been a rough season. I think the worst part of it, you can have bad seasons and still be looking at optimistic about the future, but it's hard to be optimistic about where this franchise is going, given the fact that Tennessee
quarterback they appear to be out on Will Levis
had some issues in the first half of games getting going off.
It's a tough situation in terms when you look at
really tough loss in Michigan.
Okay, why will they be better?
Tennessee was to jump on
where is the reason
right away
for optimism?
and that's a tough sell.
It could get away from the Buckeyes pretty quickly.
I mean,
think they could get
they bench Levis.
demoralized.
I don't see how he's coming back unless, Rudolph gets hurt. I think you pointed out in your column, these are 3 meaningless games. And the only hope we had was, well, maybe they'll turn this guy into some kind of a franchise quarterback. The guy's not an NFL quarterback. I think we knew that from week 1. We had some hope there. Week 2, we did the same thing.
During the course of the season.
4 turnovers in 4 consecutive possessions, throwing a ball to nobody. Guy's got some kind of a brainwave cycle going on there that he panics. He's just not an NFL quarterback. So what do? Do we draft a quarterback? I mean, what the hell do we do?
Gradually improved over the course of the season.
I mean, and the thing is that any option that the Titans have
still a very young
for trying to find a starting quarterback,
he's learned a lot this season. I think he was playing a lot
it's going to be
better.
expensive either in terms of draft capital, some point during move up. There aren't that many guys in the draft.
Can he make plays? Can he hit those throws?
They're going to go quickly, like they always
throw the ball
do.
to the other team.
So you would, depending on where the Titans are picking, there could be some moves that
not
made
give the game away.
Either that, or you're just spending a really high
what
pick
they
on
want
it.
to do to work, or you're spending
run
too
the
much
ball,
on
stop the run
on a Kirk
beat
Cousins
the other
type
type
in free agency
and
get a lead and make
I think
that
the other side
is
is
a tough situation
just because I think a veteran quarterback who's getting near the end of his career.
So
and
on that note,
guy,
you mentioned
he
the
would
line of
not want
scrimmage
to go
being a
into
huge factor in
rebuilding
this
kind of
game,
situation.
and I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about how Tennessee
set up
this
to
season
compete right
especially
away.
has really sort of
And
like
it is
schematically
tough
shifted to really sort of
to
emphasize
look at
the
this.
run
It would have
game.
been so much
They've been
easier
excellent
for the
with
Titans
the rushing
if Will
stats.
Levis had been
And,
what they were
for
hoping
years past when they've
he
sort
was
of
going to
fallen
be.
short of some lost
And I think going into the
expectations,
season,
it's
there was a lot
been,
of
big
belief
arm quarterbacks
among the
that really had to
organization
throw
that
for a
Levis
lot of
was that
yards.
kind
Has
of
this been
guy.
like a deliberate schematic
And it just didn't
change,
come
or
together
did they
this
just
season.
finally
There
have
were
the sort
there
of
were some
weapons
moments. He
to
had a
run
stretch
the
for about a
offense
month
that they
there
want, which is
mid-season
a
here
little bit more
recently where he
balanced.
played pretty well, but the last couple of weeks,
Dylan
the wheels
Sampson's
come off.
a running back.
It is tough
there.
when
I feel like
they have
had one of the better running
didn't
backs.
pursue anyone else at the position other than Mason Rudolph, and you traded Malik Willis. So now, there's the question of what now. There isn't an obvious answer, and there certainly isn't an obvious answer that wouldn't involve giving up something in terms of draft capital or salary cap.
Gentry, Jack Fredericks here, host of GodzillaWins.com, or co-host these days. Switching gears a little bit to the Tennessee Volunteers, this college football playoff game up in Columbus. I know you're headed up there right now to watch this game. Going to be just I would imagine, an incredible atmosphere. Should be a lot of fun. For our listeners in Knoxville, Nashville, the Tennessee area, what are 3 keys to a Vols victory? What do the Vols have to do here to beat what is honestly, like in my opinion, probably the most formidable first round opponent in Ohio State?
Okay, I would agree with you. I think he hasn't been there. On paper, I think Ohio State is probably the strongest team in the playoff if you're just looking at talent, just what they have. But I feel like we talk about 3 keys. I think number 1 would be to start well. Tennessee this season has had some issues in the first half of games getting going offensively, and I feel like given the setup to this, I think Ohio State's coming off a really tough loss.
Turning to just kind of the larger college football playoff
I think if
picture
Tennessee was
and
to
the
just
SEC,
jump on
because we know you cover
right
the
away,
SEC just kind of in general.
It could get away from
of the
Buckeyes
3
pretty quickly. I
teams
think
here,
they could get
Texas, Tennessee,
demoralized.
and
I think
UGA.
the home
Which team do you think
start working against
should be
them
the
a little bit?
most
So I think start
optimistic about
in
their
a game
path
like this, it's
forward
always
in
going
this
to be
college
about the
football
line of
playoff?
scrimmage. That's probably the second one. I feel like run the ball, stop the run. That's been kind of the MO for Tennessee all season. Got a decent. They run the ball really well, and I feel like defensively, they're going to have the best defensive front that Ohio State has faced during the course of the season. So I feel like Tennessee being able to just control the line of scrimmage and be able to run the ball, I think, is a big part of it. And then also third thing, just lend a mistake. You're playing a good team on the road. Tennessee's quarterback Nico Amaliava has. You could name about 5. Gradually improved over the course of the season. I would say you're talking about a guy with a lot of hype and expectations, but still a very young quarterback. I think he's learned a lot this season. I think he's playing a lot better at the end of the year than maybe at some points during the season. So, can he make plays? Can he hit those throws on 3rd and 8 and not throw the ball to the other team? For any of those 5 balls, avoid mistakes and not give the game away and allow
you could say Alabama
what they want to do to work, which is to just run the ball, stop the run,
how it's going to be in
beat the other team up front, and get a lead and make the other side have to throw to come back. And they've got a very good pass rush if they know you're
You
trying
like
to
this
throw it.
format?
Yeah, so on that note, you mentioned the line of scrimmage being a huge factor in this game, and I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about how Tennessee this season especially has really sort of like schematically shifted to really sort of emphasizing the run game. They've been excellent with their rushing stats. And, for years past, when they've sort of fallen short of some lofty expectations, it's been, big arm quarterbacks that really had to throw for a lot of yards. Has this been like a deliberate schematic change, or do they just finally have the sort of weapons to run the offense that they want, which is a little bit more balanced?
Well, I think Dylan Sampson's a heck of a running back. I think you kind of start there. I feel like they have had one of the better running backs in the country. He has certainly been a handful for pretty much anybody they've faced this season. I think he probably will be again tomorrow night.
Games on campus.
But I just feel like
I think that's going to be a really fun experience.
when Josh Heupel came into Tennessee, they kind of got the reputation of this fast break offense, and they're going to throw these deep balls.
It's going to be an exciting time, and I know that you live and work in Tennessee, and you might have to be careful with this answer. But we heard the keys to victory. But what's the doomsday scenario for the Vols?
They're going to try to run the ball in the open space.
What's like if things start going wrong, like what's going to happen?
They are able to establish the run and do that on first, second down, get the chains moving to where then they can play with the tempo. That's ideally what they want to do. They want to kind of lull you to sleep running the ball
and fell behind
and hurry you up to the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden hit you over the top.
Kickoff.
That's ideally how this is.
Then
this
fumbled
offense
the ball
works.
and just
this season, the big
quickly
and last season too, the big play maybe hasn't been there as it was a couple of years ago when Henry Hooker was the quarterback.
That is a big deal.
But they're still certainly capable of doing it.
If you do that,
and I feel like the run game's huge. If
let
you're
a
able
team
to
that
get the
could
chains
come
moving
could
and
be a little
kind of
shaky,
get the
could be
defense
a
on
little
the field a little bit,
demoralized,
that's what they want. It's when you go 3 and out,
if Ohio State
and you're
fast,
punting
they're
after
gonna be
40
right back where they
seconds,
were.
and now your
They're
defense is on the field too much. That's when you
crowd's
get
gonna be
behind them. They're going to be in the game.
If you do the other,
Gentry, turning to just kind of the larger college football playoff picture and the SEC, because we know you covered the SEC just kind of in general, watch that conference closely. Of the three, teams here, Texas, Tennessee, and UGA, which team do you think should be the most optimistic about their path forward in this college football playoff?
Well, probably Texas, just given how the bracket sets up for them. I think they're able to get past Clemson. They've got a decent run. I think Georgia, whoever kind of jumps. You would like to have a healthy quarterback. Carson Beck isn't healthy.
Let's finish
that's
up
a
with
pretty big
hockey,
deal for Georgia, and I think it hurts their
'cause
chances.
I'm
So
kind of the hockey
of those
analyst
three,
here
I
on
think
this,
Texas certainly has the easiest path.
You look at the Predators. Do you think Ole Miss got screwed here? I mean, it's unbelievable. I bet them last night. They're at home.
You know what?
Pittsburgh.
You could
Pittsburgh
name
just had
about
2
5
overtime
different
games in
teams
a
and
row.
ask that same question.
I get up
And
at
I think we knew kind of
3:45
going into this.
I go to bed.
That's how
I
it
get
was
a
going to
3-1
be.
lead. I get up. They get beaten overtime.
I mean, I've been
Again,
asked the same thing
blowing
about
a 3-1
Alabama.
lead. I mean, this team on paper,
there's
I mean, they
several
look
other
like a
teams kind of
formidable
on the
team. They
outside
just
looking
don't
in,
win.
and I think
it's like
the beauty of this
it's
is you can make a
unbelievable to
case
me.
for any of those 5
They got all
teams
these
that's
veterans.
deserving,
What is the deal?
but you can also say Ole
in
Miss should have won
Nashville
at Florida,
with this hockey team?
and you could say
Why are
Alabama
they
should
so
have won at
bad this
Vanderbilt. And that's just how it's going to be in this thing. You're going to always have those teams kind of on the outside looking in, but those teams are always going to have that game that you look at and go, well, that's great.
Right.
Most people have.
You like this format? Some people are saying they should expand it to another 4 teams, make it 16. What is your take on that?
I do like the format. The one thing I would change is how they've got it set up to where you have to be a conference champion to get the first round bye in the top 4. I would change that. Let the conference champ contend this year, and keep the field the same, but in terms of seeding, seed it the right way. What they could be capable of. I would rather see that than. And I still think Arizona State getting a bye and then that kind of thing. I have to turn. I would rather say like the basketball tournament. Let the teams in based off conference championships. Think that we would be sitting here and seated a different way. But other than that, I like having
up on it.
games on campus in the first round. I think that's going to be a really fun experience here for the next couple of days to see that sort of thing.
I figured, Nashville at home.
It's going to be an exciting time, and I know that you live and work in Tennessee, and you might have to be careful with this answer. But we heard the keys to victory. But what's the doomsday scenario for the Vols today? I mean, what's if things start going wrong, what's going to happen that just the wheels come off?
Like, how does
A slow start mixed with several turnovers. And I think we've seen it. Tennessee played their last game. I'll tell you this. And fell behind and quickly. Maybe it's unwise to drop. Gave up an opening kickoff for two things down, and one thing that then fumbled the ball and showed us here. Fell behind quickly and started slow. It's been kind of a thing for Tennessee this year. They haven't always started well. You can I think that is a big deal. You already have. Because if you do that in Ohio State, bringing in a lot of, you let a team that their confidence could be a little shaky, could be a little demoralized into a team. Now the Preds still have time to do that. If Ohio State starts fast, they're going to be right back where they were. They're going to be they're going to be confident. The crowd's going to be behind them. They're going to be in the game. If you do the other, you look at the Titans, turn the crowd against a team that really shake their confidence a little more. I don't think it's a deal for Tennessee. If you let Ohio State get on track, get big plays, get a lead like that, now you're taking the run game away from Tennessee a little bit. You're forcing them to press a little offensively. They can make a few more mistakes. That's when you're not in the doomsday scenario. This is the kind of game that I really do think you can look and call others out halfway through the second quarter into the first quarter, when you're not, and have a pretty good idea where it's going to go. Because I think you look at the Preds, whoever kind of jumps out quickly is going to have a big advantage. Blend everything together.
Let's finish up with hockey, because I'm the kind of the hockey analyst here on this team. You look at the Predators; they look great on paper. They suck. I mean, it's unbelievable. I bet them last night. They're at home. They're playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just had 2 overtime games in a row. I get up at 3:45 Eastern. I go to bed. I got a 3-1 lead. I get up. They get beaten overtime again, blowing a 3-1 lead. I mean, this team on paper, they look like a formidable team. They just don't win. It's like, it's unbelievable to me. They got all these veterans. What is the deal in Nashville with this hockey team? Why are they so bad this season?
No, it is mind blowing.
It was just a disaster.
I would. You look at the Titans this year; they really weren't supposed to be that great. Most people have a losing record.
But
so
there's no leadership.
That's been disappointing. It hasn't been shocking. What's happened with the Predators has been shocking.
Now go in and just
when you look at what they added in the offseason, you're talking about a playoff team from last year that came back with a lot of good vibes and enthusiasm from how they've been. Then you add a Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, some of these guys in free agency that they did. I think around the NHL, people were looking at the Predators as one of those teams that really could contend this year, and I think there was a lot of excitement around the team in terms of what they could be capable of doing, and to just see the. And I still think the season's not over for them. She's been very unpredictable. It's going to have to turn dramatically now, just to even get in the playoffs. To think that we would be sitting here in December, Mike Vrabel close to just giving up on it, I would have never thought that.
I just don't see it. I mean, I live in Pittsburgh, so we follow the Penguins. I bet them a lot. But I figured, Nashville at home. I mean, Pittsburgh just played 2 overtime games. They're old. They got tired legs. I mean, they got a 3-1 lead, 3-2 lead with 7 minutes to go. They can't hold that, and then this team can't win an overtime game. I mean, how do you go the whole season and lose every overtime game? Like, how does that even happen?
In these positions, when the team was like whenever they need something to happen and they just can't make it happen. I'll tell you this: if you were to draw, if that was the standard, and maybe it's unwise to draw parallels between the Titans and the Preds, but I think two things that it would be nice. One thing that the two national teams kind of showed us here is that in pro sports you cannot buy your way to success in free agency. You can free agency can supplement what you already have. But both teams really struggled in bringing in a lot of high-profile free agents and getting them to mesh into a team. Now, the Preds still have time to do that. There's a lot of veteran leadership on that team to where I'm not totally out on them.
Finally, we're getting the truth out here about
what a disaster. But you look at the Titans, and I feel like that's a team that really was lacking in leadership. And I don't think it's because they didn't have leaders. I think it's because they brought in a lot of new guys who were not invested in this franchise and what this system and everything that had been going on. Everything was just so new. And when you're not invested in things, it's really hard for you to sit there and be a leader and call others out and try to get others to follow you when you're not
We're going
playing
to the
very
toilet.
well.
I mean, it's just very,
And
very.
you know, you look at the Preds,
Very, very
and
hard.
there should be leadership
Tracy,
in that
thank you for
room to
being with
kind
us.
of blend everything
Nate,
together. It just hasn't worked on
Jack
the ice.
Fredericks.
They haven't been able to come up with the line connections with some of these new players to really get them going. I'm not saying that can't happen. I actually think it probably will happen at some point here soon, but it hasn't yet, and you know, you're just kind of still waiting.
Well, they're running out of time, and just the final question back to the Tennessee Titans, which is just a clown show going on. I've been a big Amy fan. I've been the defender of hers. You know, look, just from a business standpoint, the way she has sold the controlling ownership away from her family. The woman is savvy, right? There's no question about it. She got pissed off at Robinson after that Eagle game, and they didn't even change the plays. And, you know, it was just a disaster. Tannehill almost got crushed in that game. They didn't change the offensive plays. If she goes in there and fires.
599-3130. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation.